From a radio studio on Long Island, New York, come two die-hard fans of the greatest rock and roll band hailing from Hollywood, California. Dissecting all things Guns N' Roses and anything else in their distorted minds, it's Brando and Scotto.
'Cause you know what the fuck you are!
And this is Appetite for Distortion.
Try it again!
And welcome to the podcast. My name is Brando. With me, as always, is my partner in perfect crime, Scotto, Ian. What's going on, buddy?
Nothing much. Actually, what's going on is that it is hot as hell in New York for the past week, but, you know, staying cool. It's one of those days where it's like it's nice to be in an air-conditioned studio as opposed to like, missing the summer day out here because it's too damn hot.
It is pretty warm. I still prefer this over the winter.
Oh, me too.
It's just, I can't deal with the snow and the ice. But yeah, no, I was sweating bullets.
Yeah.
Definitely in my apartment because I'm too cheap to pay for air conditioning. So I have 1 million fans, not like real fans. Like
You do have 1 million fans.
No, it's like the M&M commercial. 'Cause that's such a clever thing. What's a real fan? All right. So basically, welcome to the show. This is our 5th episode. We really appreciate everybody who has listened to the first 4. And pretty big news. We are officially also, in addition to iTunes and SoundCloud. And again, as a quick reminder, please leave us a review on iTunes, as that's going to help us. That's going to help us get more exposure, which in turn helps you. More things that we can do, more people that we can interview. We're here for you.
Yeah, I want to crack, my big thing is I want to crack that top 150 in music.
I thought you would be like, I want crack.
I do want to crack.
That kind of show, I'm going to stick my dick in the basket potatoes.
Yeah, no, I want to crack that top 150 because it's like I look on there and they have podcasts similar to ours that, you know, I might even say we're doing something a little bit more professional than because I'm a fan, to be honest, of Three Sides of the Coin, which is like the Kiss podcast, very similar to what we do. Those guys are great, I think. However, it's done on Skype. There's always like, you know, you cut out there. You're like, I like the fact that we do this in a studio each week, that we do it. So like, I just feel like, hey, if Three Sides of the Coin can make the top 150 and they're great, nothing taken away from them, I think we can make the top 150. So we got to do it.
Amen high. I mean, I only know of them because of you, because you're more of a podcast person. I will always credit you that this was your idea at the beginning.
Sure.
And then we all formulated, it's two people, we formulated together and to create everything else. After that, I'm just not a huge fan of Kiss, I can say that.
But you don't even have to be a huge fan. It's one of those things.
I don't like Gene Simmons. Let me just, I guess more specific. That's a whole other show and podcast, I guess. That's a whole other thing.
But I feel like almost how you've said people have enjoyed what we do and they're not the biggest Guns N' Roses fans. I think Kiss's history is just very interesting and very fascinating. I actually find the history of the band more interesting than the music itself, which is kind of weird. Like almost how, you know, they were on like a decline when they had the paint on and they took the paint off to do Lick It Up and all that stuff. And then they had a decline again. And it was like, what do? We bring back the original members. So it's almost like they've had that saga that Guns N' Roses had that I find interesting.
They're a band that, and why we love, one of the many reasons why we love Guns N' Roses so much, that has transcended just being a band.
Yeah.
Whether it's being part of movies, love Detroit Rock City. I know that was much later in their career, or, you know, cartoons, and obviously, of course, all the merchandising, all that kind of stuff.
The Kiss coffin.
The Kiss coffin.
Which Dimebag Darrell was buried in.
Unbelievable. But, so we want the reviews, more things that we can do. And also, big news is that we are officially on the iHeartRadio app. And the reason why we're fortunate to be able to be in the studios, because we both work in radio. So it's just, we're very fortunate. Not everybody has the access to the means. So I'm not going to say that we're so well off, we're able to afford our own studio. We're not Anthony Cumia, but we're able to record. Again, I'm very grateful to my PD at WBAB, who's allowing me to use the studios because he knows I'm not burning it down.
Yeah. And this is like, it's one of those things where I think we both feel the same way. If this thing becomes huge and makes money, awesome. That's a great thing. But this is something that we just love to do. And it's like working in radio. And if you're, doing music like you are, or like me, doing politics, like, yes, it does get tedious. Even if you love what you're doing, it is a job just like any other job. And I genuinely enjoy talking Guns N' Roses. So no matter where this goes, this is just a fun outlet for me. This is a fun, creative thing.
And that's the feedback that we're getting. That's the really the point of the podcast, is that we're getting people that, hey, I'm going to the gym, I'm going to listen to it later. I'm listening to it on my way to work. I'm listening to it while, my kid's shitting everywhere. My wife's taking care of it. Well, I'm glad that our podcast is helping you be a bad father, but whatever. It's all good. So,
I'm just, I should say, a fan of the medium in general. I really am. Like, I don't...
we're going to have fun with the interviews that we've been having. Later on, we're going to have you bringing in another guest.
Yes, Navy SEAL Mike Ritland. Awesome guy. Big fan of just metal and rock music, and I would say a casual Guns N' Roses fan, and it's cool to hear his perspective as someone who got awesome seats to the Texas show, not Houston, to why am I forgetting now? the name of the Arlington, Texas, yeah.
Yeah, so he went to Jerry World, where the Cowboys play, and I like how the quote casual Guns N' Roses fan is right up front, where I'm in the nosebleeds.
When you're a Navy SEAL, you have some connections, I think.
I guess so. I got handicap seats. Well, I guess we're not as important than everybody else. But not much has happened, I guess, because our last show, we were talking about our experiences at the Guns N' Roses show at MetLife Stadium. And it's just kind of, I've been reliving that and wanting to go back. And I don't know about you, Ian. A lot of the steam has kind of dissipated from me since then, because it was just building up my entire life then. So now I've kind of taken a breath. I haven't been watching all the videos because it's just like I experienced it live. I need to go live again. We'll get to the one video that we needed to see, which was the main thing that happened, which was the Ghost in Axl's piano or something like that.
There's still cool stuff though that I'm excited about, like going on, they get mentioned every show, my GNR forum, and seeing the lithographs for each city. Like, that's interesting. It's
the
cool. The
Seattle one looks awesome.
I don't remember what was on that one.
It looks like the Seattle Supersonic logo. That's cool. Where Duff is from. And it's just, the lithographs just look awesome. So things like that. I enjoy seeing everyone's pictures on Twitter, Facebook, and my GNR forum. That I like. I've taken your suggestion. I'm not looking at the set list anymore. Because
you already went.
I know, but for the next time,
I'll look at the set list now.
but I want to be surprised by even just a video, or just, obviously they're not going to come around for a while now.
I think it's too late to be surprised, man. Maybe you'll be surprised by Axl DC if you decide to go and don't check out that set list.
I guess that's the next big thing. I mean, they did announce an Australia tour.
Yes. No, did they announce it, or is it being rumored? Because last I checked, it was heavily rumored.
Okay, then it's being rumored.
Yeah,
you're the one who told me, so you're giving me misinformation.
I think it's heavily rumored at the point that we're recording this. Maybe it's released by the time we release it. But it looks like they'll be in Australia next, which is, very cool for those people down under who haven't had a chance to see this band. And I'm sure even, the Axl and Friends band, whatever you want to call them, I still say GNR. I don't know when the last time they were in Australia was. So I think a lot of people have not had the opportunity to see what we saw.
No, and it's cool because we follow all the guys on Twitter. Slash and Duff seem to be the most active on it. But Axl has put out some tweets just thanking all the fans from all the shows. He mentioned every individual city. And he also mentioned that there aren't many shows left in the United States, and that saddens him. And in his a million emojis that he uses, I never thought Axl would be an emoji user, but he's like, how could it be? Say it ain't so. So it's the fact that he seems to be in a really good place, and he should be carrying that to Axl DC, AC/DC, which is really petering out. It's a really weird, awkward Alex Rodriguez type of ending.
Yeah. People are excited for it, though. I mean,
I am now. I wasn't. I was intrigued, but after seeing how well he's been doing, this also could be the last time we see Angus Young.
Yeah. But, looking at the tickets on StubHub, they're going for a pretty high price for the MSG show. This actually isn't like, I thought it was kind of a sad ending, even though I liked seeing the movie and everything. Motley Crue's last show, I remember looking at tickets on StubHub a few nights before, and you could have gotten tickets to Motley Crue's last ever show for like $20.
Oh my God.
I was surprised by, man. It was just, I guess they went on too long with that tour. And, and also a lot of people were not impressed by Vince Neil, let's say, but if tickets are still going for $100+ on StubHub for any seat in the house, like that's a successful tour.
I know. And I know Angus Young recently mentioned, because Axl has mentioned to start this off, that he wants to do more stuff with AC/DC. He wants to continue, whether it's live shows or I don't know if he mentioned recordings. I don't think he mentioned an album. I think that's more of a rumor. But recently, I think it was an interview with Rolling Stone, Angus Young was asked if AC/DC is going to continue, because there are, of course, rumors about Brian Johnson getting better. Maybe there's some earpieces to help him with his hearing. It was more on his live shows that it was affecting his hearing, not so much the in-studio stuff. But Angus said now that Cliff Williams, the bassist, announced his retirement, he doesn't know. He doesn't know after this Black Ice, not Black Ice, this whatever they're calling this tour.
Rock or Bust, right?
Yeah, Rock or Bust. Black Ice was like 2 albums ago.
Yeah.
This Rock or Bust tour that seems to be going on forever as well.
I do like the fact that, what I've seen of the tickets, though, it does say AC/DC with Axl Rose. I think that's good. I think it is a different band in a sense.
It is, because you're not going to fool fans at this point. You can do that if you're when you're not that tier of a band. I think for a while, I guess Sublime tried to be Sublime again, and then they did Sublime with Rome.
I don't get that, man.
There were lawsuits there.
Brad Noel, he wrote everything.
That's different. But I think you have to when it's not just another guest singer. Rome, he's not a name like Axl Rose. And it's really interesting. You're seeing a lot of celebrities coming out in praise of Axl. Gene Simmons, who hates everything, has been loving this.
I know you hate Gene. Gene is an interesting guy, man.
There are things he's said about just the aspects of depression.
Oh, yeah. But did you read his son's article about him? You should check that out.
I think his son's a cool guy. I like that. He looks at it through his father, like certain glasses.
No, but he did write a really good article kind of saying, it's okay that I think my dad is wrong on a ton of things. And, I still love him.
Oh,
it was actually a really heartfelt article, and he talked about how, like, when his dad says that, drugs aren't. Well, I don't know how he always puts it. That it's not a sickness. It's not. Yeah. Drug addiction isn't.
When after Robin Williams passed, to talk about Kiss again, it's funny. That it's just. He said that like no one should be that sad that his mom, I guess, survived
the
Holocaust concentration camps, and she lived a full life. So there's no excuse for it. And that's just for me, who has suffered from suffering. It's a never-ending depression.
Oh, I have too, man.
Yeah. Yay, Cymbalta.
I don't take anything, but I know what you mean.
Good for you, man. I needed to take something. My therapist was like, "You need to fucking take something." I'm not even paraphrasing. She's like, "You need to fucking take something." That's dangerous because it is an illness, and it really upset me when he said that, especially right after Robin Williams' death. Just shut up. And the same thing with Prince, where he called that death pathetic.
You should read the article by his son, though. I really enjoyed it.
I will, and I understand maybe you should. It's in regards to compartmentalizing what people say and why they're saying it, and their perspective doesn't mean they're bad people. And I think that's also how I've always looked at Axl Rose when he went on his rants. Getting angry, doing all these things. I'm like, this seems like he had a messed up childhood. I'm looking at it, maybe through rose-colored glasses, pun intended. But that's how I looked at it. But, whatever, I digress. It's going to be interesting, though, with Angus Young and Axl Rose doing this, since it's gotten all the great reviews. Even Ted Nugent praised this. A lot of people are coming out and just saying Axl Rose is doing such a great job. So, and those are professionals. And he seems to be a major target that you could easily be shit on.
Sure.
And it's not really happening anymore.
And so you saying Axl Rose getting angry about things, and that you have to, take things, as they come, and that you can't judge him by all his actions that he's had over the years. That actually brings us to his reaction to this November Rain mess up
at first
at the
I
Houston
thought,
show.
Yeah, this was August 5th, and the only reason I know that because I'm looking at the YouTube channel now. We're going to play it in a second.
I saw it late in the game, and man, it's kind of brutal.
I was scared because reading just the headlines and all the clickbait stuff that now exists in our in our media is like, Guns N' Roses fuck up November Rain. I'm like, oh shit.
I
what
really
happened?
hate the clickbait when it's totally not what it is, which is all the time, where it's just you click on it and you're like, oh, that was it?
Yeah, or there are a lot that said Axl Rose gets pissed.
Yeah.
And you see his reaction, and it's not. So we're going to kind of do this in, quote, real time, I guess. They're in the middle of November Rain right now. And Axl Rose is looking around. Sounds okay.
And you can hear what sounds like almost like a toy kid's piano.
He's laughing right now.
It sounds horrible, by the way.
What the fuck was that?
So Axl stops playing his piano. He's looking back at Dizzy. And it's, what's going on? Is he going to storm off?
Can we stop it at least?
He's got a smile on his face, puts his hands up like, I don't know what's going on.
Wow, the piano's broken.
All right. So how's he going to handle this? How is Axl Rose going to handle this?
So, you have a suggestion then?
I don't know if he's talking to Izzy or one of the sound guys right now. And he goes back into the song.
But keep it playing, though. See, it still has that sound, and that's what I was going to say. I wonder why he stays on the piano throughout the song, because at this point, the piano is not adding anything. It's deterring from the song. Why couldn't you have Dizzy Reed just play some keyboards that sound like the piano parts and just sing? Because it sounds bad, dude. It's brutal.
It sounds like when an infant, or no, I should say like a toddler, is just put in front of a piano because starts smacking
I don't know
it.
why he kept playing. And I'm not a musician by any means. I've done some things over the years, dabbled in things, but I don't know how piano breaks like that. Like, how does that happen?
Did a string break? I don't know, but
it sounds more than that, though, right? It sounds terrible.
But the fact that he's smiling,
yeah,
and I'll credit the YouTuber who said this. It wasn't any of us that said, thanks to the lame-ass technical difficulties, I'm staying and giving you guys a great show.
I love that. Yeah, he definitely did not react in what people would consider typical Axl fashion. He's definitely a more level-headed guy now. Maybe he's on medication. Who knows? But I just don't know why he kept playing the piano. But I guess it's just what he's used to. But I've seen like at Revolution here on Long Island, I saw Lita Ford have technical difficulties and throw a fucking amp and curse out the sound guy. Like there's people who would have reacted far worse than that.
100%. And I'm reading the comments from people who were there that said it was just such a great moment, and they just kicked ass the entire show.
Yeah.
And it's just those things happened, and okay, maybe it was it like an Ashley Simpson moment where he doesn't really play the piano after all these years? No, it's nothing like that. So the fact that something, quote, went wrong and they moved on.
There's another part, too. I mean, we can't play the whole thing, but there was a part where he's like, what is it, a ghost? He's like, you can at least get the fucking song right if you're a ghost. So
I think he said, I don't mind ghosts or gremlins, but they probably should learn the fucking song.
Exactly. There you go. Yep.
I mean, that's one of the main things I've always loved about Axl is his sense of humor.
Yeah.
That's just always been underneath that wall of anger, what people say.
But when he originally stops the song, people even said, like, in the comments that you're reading, I saw some that said something to the effect of, like, that Duff and Slash probably had a panic attack right there when he was like, all right, stop. Because
stop.
It almost flashes back like
Vietnam flashbacks.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is.
Oh, man. And even, I'm reading just the more comments because I guess this has been the main thing with the band. It's always been something from afar, something heard through the grapevine. I want to be there. What actually happened? That's why I will never pin any blame on Axl, even though it seems obvious, like running off the stage. Yeah, there are certain things that happen, but what did Slad have to do with it? What did the crowd have to do with it? But saying, I hear, these clickbaits, GN'R screws up November Rain. No, it didn't happen. It was just something with the keyboard. That shit happens, and he handled it very un-Axl Rose-like.
You know who didn't handle something well that we were talking about earlier before we started recording?
Who's that?
Is Bobby Blotzer's Ratt, apparently he walked off stage or something after 2 songs because he didn't like the sound. And it's like, dude, it's bad enough that you're touring as Ratt. You didn't write any of the songs that anyone remembers. I think he wrote like 2 or 3 songs that no one remembers. So that's another weird thing. Like there's a lot of weird stuff going on with reunions, as we've talked about, like leading up to this show with, Dokken is reuniting. They're doing, I think it's 4 shows in Japan. They're doing 1 show in South Dakota, of all places. And,
best Dakota. I don't know.
And Don Dokken has said, this is it. This is all we're doing. And he's been pretty clear that, like, yes, this is about money. Like, it was too much money to leave on the table for us to do these Japan shows. But he actually said, he was like, I'm no matter how much they're offering us to do like a States tour, I'm not doing it. He's like, because then I'm really whoring myself out. He's like, I want to focus on the current Dokken band, and this is like a last hurrah. So there's a lot of reunions going on because like at this time the demand is just there for this type of thing, and I think people are even seeing Guns N' Roses and saying like,
it could happen.
Yeah,
It's interesting because we've already speculated, everyone's speculating. They may never tell us as to why they're reuniting. There are, like Chris Pittman made that comment on Twitter that it's a cash grab. I think Slash's brother has said some angry things. But you see a moment like this, and it seems like they're really enjoying each other's company, that it's not a cash grab. If it was, would I want them to admit it? And that's what's happening right now when you mentioned Dokken. I'm going to admit I'm not as familiar. I mean, I know who they are.
Sure.
I mean, the only song I really know is from Freddy 4.
Dream Warriors is great. Oh, there's such a great story about that video. Because I love that song. Do you remember the video?
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, it's a lot based on like the movie. Isn't there like there were movie clips within it?
Yeah. So do you remember George Lynch is doing a guitar solo on that cool skeleton guitar? He breaks through the wall.
Yeah.
So this was actually from Metal Sludge. I remember I read an interview with him that he said like they were so high on cocaine that when he's like that wall that I break through was designed so that a baby could break through there, and I was so weak and so high on cocaine that he's like, you could see it in the video. He's like, I kind of step through the like wall. He's like, I kind of push it and step through. And they also talked about that they did cocaine off Robert Englund's Freddie glove.
That's rock and roll.
That is like sleaze 80s. That's like the epitome of it.
And I mean, so would that take as a Dokken fan? Like if Axl or Slash or whoever said, we're just doing this for the money. For me, I would still see it. It would still kind of suck a bit. But for Dokken, now that they've admitted it, and you're going to see them, right?
I don't know.
Or you're still debating?
South Dakota, I probably am not, because here's
the fact you're debating it, I give you kudos.
I know. I don't think I am. If it was California or something, I could find an excuse to go there. Like there's a ton of stuff I would do, but I was thinking to myself, like I'm going to take the plane out, I'm going to get a hotel, all that, probably stay a few more nights. Like, I don't know what else there's to do in South Dakota.
But the point is, does that bother you?
The money? Well,
like for the reason why they're reuniting, because we don't know, and we assume that Duff was the catalyst to get Slash and Axl talking again.
Sure.
And it seems like there was a lot of healing. There are videos of Axl and Slash laughing and smiling together, plenty on stage and off stage.
Yeah. Saying that's some badass shit. And playing.
No, it seems like this is a genuine reunion. Of course, all the rumors about new music, and they're still continuing the tour, going to different countries, and it seems to be great. So this is just adding more to the reunion. This is adding more than them just getting back together. But for Dokken, and you mentioned Ratt as well, that there are 2 versions now? Is it like an LA Guns situation?
But, to answer the first question,
but it's all it's all within the same ballpark.
Well, just to answer the Dokken thing of how I feel about it. Because Don Dokken has said, he's like, I actually
think it's his real name, by the way, Don Dokken.
He said, like, I do want to have fun. He's like, I want to get up there and have a fun time. And he actually even said on Eddie Trunk, he was like, I'm not going to pull like a Bobby Blotzer if there's sound issues and get off stage or any of that. He talked about that because he said actually that the other night his monitors sounded like crap. And he's like, you just follow through with the show with, the current Dokken band. And he's like, so I just told him at a certain point, just turn our monitors off. He's like, because this sounds like crap. And I dealt with it and did the whole show. And he's like, that's what you got to do. So that was cool to hear.
Like when your piano gets invaded by ghosts, you just move on.
Yeah. So, but how I feel, like, yes, I prefer if these guys got on, but they're just doing 4 shows, and they're doing the one U.S. show. I personally wish it was not South Dakota. I wish it was like I said, L.A. or something, because I would easily go there and find other cool things to do with my time. I just can't justify spending all that money to go to South Dakota and like stay at a hotel the rest of the time.
I don't blame you, because it's Dokken.
If it was, I gotta ask, if it was Guns N' Roses and they were just doing South Dakota, would you fly there?
If it was Axl and Slash and I was able to afford it, it may be an experience I would have to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
GNR is more important to Dokken than me. It goes without saying. So, yeah. And also, I'd have friends to go with. I don't think I know anyone who's crazy enough to go to South Dakota
see a
for
Dokken show.
But it is awesome, I think, that they're reuniting. I would love to see these shows. So the Bobby Blotzer thing. So, Ratt. I'll give everybody some background, I guess, is that Warren DeMartini, the guitarist, the other guitarist, not the one, Robin Crosby who passed, and Bobby Blotzer own the Ratt name, apparently. And Bobby has said that Warren does not want to tour. So he originally said, hey, I'm going to tour as Bobby Blotzer's Ratt Experience. And Warren DeMartini said, I'd rather you not use the name Ratt. And he eventually said, you know what, I'm just going to tour as Ratt because none of you fucking guys want to tour as Ratt. So he himself is touring as Ratt with a bunch of other guys. And I will say, I've seen videos on YouTube, and they actually put on a very good show, but is it really, it's a cover band.
I guess it's essentially if Adler, that band, not just Steven Adler, went out as Guns N' Roses.
It'd be the exact same thing.
That's stupid. You're like, you want to play the songs, cool. I mean, obviously Adler does play Guns N' Roses songs, but that's really stupid. It's different. People said the same thing about Axl Rose going out with a completely new band and calling it Guns N' Roses.
But Axl wrote a lot of those songs.
And it's the face, it's the voice, so I guess it's not the same. It wasn't Guns N' Roses per se, but it's a lot more palatable than the drummer going out and doing that.
Yeah,
although there are a lot of older bands that kind of do that.
Chicago.
Yeah, but I think if your members die off, I think maybe there's an excuse for it.
Skinnered.
Yeah.
But not,
But they're carrying on a legacy more than, really carrying on a legacy than this, when Stephen Pearcy's still around.
Yeah. Well, back to Kiss a little bit. You've heard, I don't know if you've heard them say, that they have plans to carry on the name when they all die.
Yeah, I've heard that.
That's pretty crazy, too, that they've... I've read Paul Stanley's book.
What is this, Ghostbusters? I mean,
he says, there's a young kid who could do it, and, people just want to see Kiss, and they're going to basically franchise out the name Kiss. And it is kind of cool, though, that, your grandchildren will get to see Kiss if they want to.
I think that's kind of... I will give them credit. I think that's a very smart thing to do, especially since they wear makeup, and you can get away with that. If any band could do that, to franchise yourself and have new versions, essentially kind of have a new all-female Ghostbusters version of Kiss, I guess you can do that. It's interesting. And I think even Axl has kind of phrased it where the Guns N' Roses franchise, the name, the brand, it's a unique way of doing it, because these songs, whether it's Kiss, whether it's Skinner, whether, of course, Guns N' Roses, are going to live on forever.
Yeah, that's...
And at some point, you're not going to see that live.
And that's why it's so important, I think, to go see these Guns N' Roses shows, because this could be it.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's why I was going to spend any amount of money.
Exactly. If you're not seeing these shows, I don't know what you're waiting for.
Especially since all the reviews are coming in, not just from us, but are just overwhelmingly positive.
I heard Jamie Jost on his podcast talking about how surreal it is that, as long as you and I have been alive, Iron Maiden has been touring, and AC/DC has been touring, and Metallica, 20 years from now, or 10 years from now for some of these bands.
The Stones are still touring.
Yeah, it's isn't it going to be crazy when all these bands are no longer touring? Even the bands that are younger than that, how much longer is Megadeth going to tour? How much longer is Anthrax going to tour? Could you imagine when you see the day when none of those bands are playing shows anymore?
And I think we touched on this, I forget what show it was, but what's that next band that we all want to see? And I'm wondering if it's just a weird perspective for us since we're Long Island, New York, because there are some big rock festivals all around the country, and people come out to see the Hailstorms, the Five Finger Death Punches, and it's just. But I just don't see them having the following of an Iron Maiden of that doesn't exist now. But there needs to be a proper way to franchise it. Now, again, I guess I will use the Ghostbusters analogy, or even.
Have you seen the Ghostbusters? I haven't.
No, I did read that it's taking a $100 million loss.
Wow, $100 million?
They were talking a sequel, and then they saw the returns.
Jeez, man.
Even though I heard that the reviews were kind of hit or miss, it wasn't as overwhelmingly bad as everybody was anticipating. But yeah, like a $100 million loss. That's bad.
Yeah.
But even I didn't see I saw the last Ninja Turtles, but not this new like.
I didn't want to. Yeah.
I didn't want to either, but it's just I'm wearing a fucking Ninja Turtles tank top right now. And of course, one of our logos is in the same vein as Ninja Turtles. So we're
yeah.
And I forgot who mentioned that on Twitter to us. Yes, we're huge Ninja Turtle fans.
It's that same era. That's why.
Right, but I also still, when I watched this morning, I love the new animated series. Like it's freaking amazing. But even with the new Ninja Turtles or new Ghostbusters, but now you're gonna do it with new bands. How do you attack it? How do you approach and satisfy your fans? Same thing with maybe did Axl go about it the right way or wrong way? When he mentioned the Kurt Loder. When they came back at the VMAs in 2002, and Kurt had said, this is taking a long time. And Axl says, but how do you rebuild something that already was? It already existed. How do you do that properly? And Ghostbusters did it right and wrong. Obviously, everyone's saying because it's all girls is just a moron. Who cares if they're women? That's so stupid.
I've heard a lot of different arguments. I haven't seen it, but a lot of people
if it's pushing
think
an agenda, then
that's what a lot of people think.
If it's pushing like an agenda, that's one thing. You don't need it I'm all for.
Because people have said like the male characters are like disposable in this movie, and that it is pushing an agenda.
If that's the case, then I don't want it shoved in my face because I don't care. Male, female, transgender. I don't care who you are. Just don't be an asshole.
I don't know though. Transgender Ghostbusters. I don't know if I'd be. Well, I'm not seeing the female one anyway.
It may happen. You never know. But they still had the older older actors. I think like Bill Murray made an appearance in it.
Yeah.
When they were doing all the press for it, they had everybody come back. Even Annie Potts still looking all hot after all these years. But even with the Ninja Turtles, and Michael Bay sucks, but you're bringing back Bebop and Rocksteady. You're like, how do you approach it? So if with Kiss is a long roundabout way to get it, how do you do that? If it was all their sons, like there were talks about maybe like a new generation of Beatles, could you do that with all their sons? And I think that would be really awesome.
It'd be cool. Just don't call it the Beatles, probably.
I guess, but then that wouldn't be franchising it.
Yeah.
That's why I liked with AC/DC that when Malcolm had dementia and he was out, I believe, I want to say his brother, I hope I'm right about that, or his cousin, replaced him replaced him. And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
That's
There's a lot of
there's something about that, even like with Skinnerd.
Skinnerd, I was going to say Allman Brothers Band.
Right.
Yeah.
There's something, obviously it's not the same, but there's something in the lineage, something in the blood that you appreciate it. And who knows if that's what Axl was trying to do. We've spoken about how DJ Ashbro wearing the top hat. He doesn't wear it now, his pictures. He just looks like he is Hot Topic. Like if Hot Topic was a person, had the ooze from the Ninja Turtles like fell on him, that's DJ Ashbro. Even though I'm a fan, I liked him in the band.
I like DJ Ashbro.
But then a lot of people have said that Richard Forrest looks like Izzy.
Yeah.
So what is the approach to franchise? If Guns N' Roses was to franchise this?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't think they would. I think Kiss is very much about marketing, as they've said. So we have Mike Ritland coming on. I do want to get to one more thing before we get to that, though, that we were talking about. This came out before we even started this show. The show itself, before any episode. But what did you think of that tweet of Axl saying, I'm not going to sign anything anymore?
That was based on, did he see somebody's, his autograph go up?
He did mention people eBaying stuff.
It reminded me of my experience when I got to meet Slash and Duff. They were signing autographs behind the venue at Starland Ballroom in Jersey at a Velvet Revolver show. And the first person to sign autographs was Duff, I guess, come out of the bus, whatever. He's signing everyone's autograph. Somebody's like, sign my hand. And Duff's like, what are you going to do with that? And I actually said, you don't want to know? And Duff laughed. I made Duff laugh. Everyone laughed. So that was just a funny moment. Then Slash, everyone was signing everyone's autographs. It was like my ticket. And actually, people were, I had them sign my shirt. That was cool. Then somebody out of nowhere had a white guitar. I'm not savvy enough to remember what type of guitar it was. That doesn't matter. And Slash was like, get that the fuck out of here. Because you know what he's going to do with it. You
don't think it would be him just keeping it himself by any means?
Why would you have a guitar on you? I really strongly believe that this guy just wanted a Slash autograph on a guitar to sell it.
And you know what? Actually, I've seen those on eBay, and they'll have the picture of the guy signing the guitar as well, so they could say it's proven. I mean, I'll be honest. I've eBayed CDs before, but this is a little different. I know what you're saying. You're intentionally getting something signed. I get it. You know what? The thing I was going to tie this into a little bit was a lot of these celebrities saying, I'm not going to take pictures anymore.
Justin Bieber.
Tommy Lee said something about it. And people's immediate reaction is, what an asshole. But
times have changed.
And also, I can't imagine what it would be like to be as famous as Justin Bieber. Like he said, I feel like a caged animal and stuff. And I completely understand.
I do. I sound like I'm about to marry you. There's a couple ways there's a lot of ways actually to go with this, and I don't fault Axl for that. I believe he also said it's not forever, but he's not going to sign autographs for a while.
Because it's in such high demand right now.
Right.
He probably knows that like an Axl signature is in higher demand than ever.
Right. There was also a tweet by Amy Schumer that says she's just not going to take pictures with fans for a while because there was a male fan that harassed her for one. And, it's scary because, forgive me, I forget the artist's name from The Voice who was killed in Orlando.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about,
though. And the meet and greet situations have gotten scary. And there are times that, especially when you're a celebrity like Justin Bieber, you're in danger. And I will tell you a funny... it is a funny story because it's just nothing really bad happened. That when I got to meet Blink 182, by the way, Christina Grimmie,
okay,
she's the one. I don't. I'm not mispronouncing, but I want to say her name because it's so tragic.
Sure.
When I got to meet Blink 182, I guess I should just say, Mark and Travis, and along with Matt Skiba from Alkaline Trio, at iHeartMedia. In the city where I work, in addition to BAB, I don't know why I had to just give my biography right there. I had to get permission because they're doing a meet and greet before their show at the theater. So my ability to get there was just going to be in line with the rest of the fans. So I'm waiting in line, and because I've mentioned this on the show before, I use a cane because I have a physical disability, and it helps me with my balance. But there are people who have met me, and I think I told the story about when that girl at Sirius thought I was a pimp. Some people just don't know what to make of me because I handle myself well, I guess. I'm not what you would call a cliche or just obvious handicapped person, and I mean that in respect to my own. Because you see somebody in a wheelchair, you see someone slurring their speech. There's a stigma attached to somebody who's, quote, handicapped. So, and they were very nice, the security people. The guy came up to me, he's like, so first thing he's like, I hope you don't mind me asking, how injured are you? And I was like, okay, I'm in a good mood. I'm about to meet, my heroes from high school. And I'm like, I have a neurological disability. He's like, oh, okay. I'm just curious about the cane. I was like, yeah, no, it's for real. And I rolled up my sleeve and I showed my handicap tattoo on the inside of my left,
which is cool, yeah.
Yeah, on the inside of my left bicep, meshed in a half sleeve. It's the handicap logo with metal horn, throwing up the metal horns and a mohawk. And I'm like, it's real. I wouldn't have had this otherwise. And I'm joking. I'm not offended.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, okay. He's like, can you walk without it? I was like, yeah, but I'm a lot more comfortable with it. He's like, yeah, I'm sorry to ask, but you know what happened with Orlando, what he just mentioned with the Christina Grimmie from The Voice. Hope I'm not mispronouncing her name. And I was like, I totally get it. I'm not offended at all. It's not a big deal. And even like the head of security, this woman came by. She's like apologizing to me, and I wasn't throwing a fit. I was like, I get it. You guys are doing your job. Don't worry. All right. So I thought it's a dead issue. It was just another funny moment in my life. So we're about to go in, and the same security guard, the man, he's like, so before you go in, can you take that apart? I was like,
what?
I'm like, I can't take that apart.
Yeah.
He's like, yes, you can.
Like, I'm looking at it now. Like, what is there to take apart?
He's like, you can, because there's that part of the cane that how you adjust the height.
Yeah.
You can, I guess, essentially, you probably could take any. I'm like, I can. I'm like, I'm trying to think. I'm like, I don't want to take this apart. And then the head of security is like, he's fine. I'm like, I work here.
Yeah,
you know?
this is ridiculously overly cautious.
I was, and I guess it resulted in a very funny picture, which you can see on my Twitter if you follow me. And it's all connected through at the AFD show. Is I walk with my cane in my right hand, and I was too afraid to switch to my left because I'm a righty, you know, to shake hands with the right, and so I just do everything with my right and jerk it off. So I didn't switch hands because they thought I might have been in attack mode, switching So I just put out my left, and I'm really not used to, it's my weaker hand, and I'm really not used to shaking hands. So it looks like me and Mark Hoppus are like about to exchange vows the way we're shaking hands. And it's
I think I have seen that.
Yeah, and Travis Barker in the middle, like looking like, what's going on? So it resulted in a funny story and a funny picture. But to go all the way back to Axl, I don't blame him. It sucks that this is the world that we live in, whether it's people hawking it for money, whether it's the ultimate, people dying, not even just me getting harassed for questioning me and my disability. So that's my long answer with a lot of reasons why Axl is doing what he's doing, and I hope it changes because I would love an Axl autograph.
I get it, and also look, I'm as capitalist as they come. At the same time, Axl could be selling stuff with his autograph, so he's supposed to be doing that for people who really want it. I mean, at the same time, I would have loved to have bought more of those New Jersey lithographs to sell on eBay had I known how much those are going for. But no, I get it. It's his right. And I don't think it necessarily makes you an asshole. When I heard the Tommy Lee thing, like Tommy Lee wrote a whole thing about that he was, I think, getting flowers for, it might have been his mom or a family member's funeral, and they were like, Tommy, when we get a picture? And he's like, dude, I'm getting flowers for a funeral. Like, I'm not in the mood for this right now. So I get it.
We spoke about that with John Miller. It's time and place. When do you do it? I mean, that's the life of a celebrity. I know I've had awkward moments like Jim Brewer in the bathroom. I'm going to leave it at that. If that sounds weird enough, go listen to the last episode to hear the story. It's just a weird thing, and this is the world that we live in. So I don't blame Axl at all. As we just saw and listened to with November Rain, I think he's in a better place. I think he's doing things for all the right reasons. I have no issue with it.
I agree. So yeah, as we were saying, we have Mike Ritland coming on. I'm really excited. Navy SEAL, K-9 instructor, runs Trikos International and the Warrior Dog Foundation. And the first thing I was going to say, Mike, is, like, at least for me, I'm wondering if you feel the same way. It's kind of a relief to talk about just rock and Guns N' Roses and all this stuff when all we talk about is, and for you, like, politics and Navy SEAL stuff. Because for me, and I know you love talking politics too, but if someone was to ask me, are you into politics? I'm really not. It's just one of those things you have to be informed about, or it's just part of being a good citizen. But what I love talking is Guns N' Roses and rock and roll, really.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. I mean, the daily grind of talking about, basically business, whether it's dogs, soft community stuff or politics or whatever, because I'm of the same variety, and that I actually fucking hate politics. But on the same token, I hate being an ignorant dipshit even more than politics. So, I hear you 100%. I love to talk guitars and music and amps and gear and, steaks and barbecue. I mean, that's kind of the only other things that I do other than the normal put the food on the table type bullshit. So yeah, I'm stoked to just have a good casual convo about it.
Hell yeah, man. So the reason we're bringing you on more than anything, of course, is that you were at the Arlington, Texas show, which it's funny. Brando and I were discussing. We were like, "Is that the show that the November rain mess up happened?" But that was actually in Houston. So I saw the picture that you sent over, and you were super close. Just recap the show a little bit for us. I'm wondering how it went and what you thought, and I'm also wondering if you're like Brando and I and saw the band pre/reunion, or even since you're a little older, if you saw the band during the heyday.
Yeah. I mean, I guess to answer the last question first, just because I think it's most relevant, I never saw them growing up in high school. I mean, they were at their peak when I was in high school in the early 90s, but I never got to it. I was supposed to go to a St. Louis show because that was the closest to where I grew up, but something ended up happening where I couldn't go, and it ended up being a total fucking nightmare anyway. Where that was the show where Axl threw a fucking mic stand and hit somebody in the face and canceled the show 10 minutes into it and was 2 hours late starting. And I think he had some antics back then, and maybe felt a little too big for his britches or got too popular too fast, too young. I don't know what it was, but they were one of my favorite bands, growing up, and I always jammed out to them. And, so to fast forward and go through, a solid 20 years plus of my adult life, and then, have them get the reunion, especially after, just how skeptical I was of it actually happening, given the tumultuous history between Slash and Axl over the last couple of decades. I really didn't think it would happen. So when it did, I would also add that my expectations were not very high, just given how long it's been since they've played, and again, just kind of everything that's gone on. I wasn't really anticipating it to be that great, but, I was like, fuck, when else are you going to get to see Guns N' Roses? I mean, I think the name of their tour of Not in This Fucking Lifetime is pretty apt, and so I was like, fuck it, let's go. And a friend of mine who also works for me got just ridiculous fucking tickets. There's a little section that was, I guess you would call it the floor, but I'm assuming it was some sort of VIP floor that was way up front. It was, right up to the stage, but it was a really small area that was just, people standing, and then there was a big meaty guardrail behind that, and then seats, and we were in the front row of the seated section right behind it. So I mean, we were awesome. 40 feet from the stage, probably, if that actually. But
so peanut butter and jealous right now.
Yeah. But what was really surprising, or I guess I just wasn't expecting, was, it was at the new Cowboys Stadium in Arlington, which is a fucking monstrosity.
Jerry's World.
Of an engineering fucking wonder. I mean, it's an enormous, just unbelievably remarkable stadium, and they fucking filled it. I mean, I took a panoramic picture with my phone just before they dimmed the lights, and it's like, holy shit, I can't believe it. There's seats up there that, in my opinion, they shouldn't be able to charge for. They're that fucking high and far away. And there were people in them, in every goddamn one of them. It was amazing to see not just the fact that it was packed, but also who it was packed with. I mean, there were kids that were in their early teens there that I was just like, how do you even know who the fuck Guns N' Roses are? But and then of course, there was a shit ton of people, in their late 30s, early 40s age group that kind of grew up with them, and so it was just really neat. But then, once the concert actually started, the Cult opened for them, and they did a really good job too. I mean, they sounded really good, and it was neat to see them after hearing them for so many years. But when Guns N' Roses took the stage, it was just, it was all over. I mean, the second they started playing, it was just, I think everybody kind of had a collective sigh of relief, like, holy shit, these guys are every bit as good as they've ever been, and absolutely legit and relevant, and they just absolutely fucking crushed it, and every aspect of the show, from my perspective, was spot on, and that, the vocals were just surprisingly good. Again, as long as it's been, since I've heard him sing public or whatever, I wasn't anticipating him to really nail it, but he absolutely did. And then the entire band, same thing. I mean, they were just spot the fuck on. And I would say from a production standpoint too, the show was very well done, and that it was a professionally done show in terms of pyro and effects and stuff, but not so overdone to where it's like, Jesus, are we watching a fucking movie or is this a concert?
Yeah, like Kiss.
And that's the band I was thinking of.
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, there wasn't a single thing about it that I could critique anything other than raving reviews. I mean, and then the last thing was that, they played, or the last two things is that they played every song that you wanted to hear, and then they played some that I wasn't all that familiar with. And there's some from the Spaghetti Incident, or a couple of random tracks off of Lies that I knew them, but they weren't ones that I was dying to hear. And then Chinese Democracy is one that I'm really not familiar with at all. I never listened to much of it. So there was a handful of songs that I wasn't jamming on, but they still sounded good. They were well done. The other thing, the last thing that I would add in terms of the review of it was that, I mean, they played for 3 fucking hours straight, and took no breaks. I mean, I was really impressed and astounded by guys that are as old as they are with the kind of fucking energy they brought for 3 hours straight, and were professional about it. They weren't prima donnas. They weren't, assholes to the crowd. They weren't fucking around. They were just solid performers that did a phenomenal job. And I would say just kind of, you got the feeling at the end of the show that, it's like walking out of a movie that leaves you speechless almost. Like everybody was just like, holy fuck, what just happened, So it was really, really awesome, and I'm fucking stoked to have been a part of it. It was really cool.
And you're saying this as somebody who went into it. I don't know if thinking the worst is the way to phrase it, but you didn't have high expectations. So did you not see any of the YouTube videos or see any of their previous reviews? Because they had a handful of shows before the show that you went to, or you just went in completely blind, knowing just the Guns N' Roses you grew up with, and then left with just that of what you just told us.
Well, yeah, no, I did that on purpose. Actually, I knew that they had a few other shows, and I purposely didn't watch any of the videos, or anytime I saw any publicity or press on any of it, I just ignored it, skipped right over it, whatever, and because like I said, I knew how I remembered them, and I wanted to just go in there face value and see what the fuck. I do the same thing with, like, if there's a movie that I want to see,
I was thinking that
comes on, I
Spoilers.
turn it off, or I change the channel, or whatever. If somebody says, "Oh, have you seen whatever movie?" I'm like, "Motherfucker, don't tell me about it." I don't like having any sneak peeks into shit like that. So I went in there completely fucking blind, and I'm sure that was part of why they probably blew me away as much as they did, because I was not expecting them to be much. I kind of figured they'd probably be a little bit washed up and out of, just a little rusty and not quite like they used to be, but they fucking proved me wrong for sure. I think they proved a lot of people wrong and have been, but
that's an interesting perspective, because I was complete opposite when Ian and I saw them in Jersey. From the get-go, when they played in the Troubadour, I've been watching every single show on Periscope. I've been reading all the set lists. Ian yells at me for, "Don't post the set list. I don't want to know." So I went in knowing pretty much the set list and knowing that they've been sounding great, and I still left with the same impression you did, where you did none of that. We both came to the same conclusion. So that's kind of fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess, from my perspective, I think that speaks volumes in terms of you feeling that way after seeing all that, because, like I said, I think that, my low expectations can only lend itself a little bit to being blown away by the show, but to have seen all that and been that up to date on it and still have that reaction, I'd say it's damn sure not a fluke, but.
Yeah.
But, and I will also say, being the guitar fan that I am, I am by no means, I'm a novice player at best, but, to see Slash play and also, I don't know the guy's name, but I mean, I know he's been playing for him since early 2000.
Richard
the other
Fortas?
guitar player. Yeah, I mean, he was fucking spectacular, and to be that close and get to watch two guys of that fucking caliber and magnitude play, when I try to play too, it's just, to me that was a huge fucking treat, because it's to be close enough to actually see what their fucking hands are doing and hear it. It's just, it was phenomenal, and it was something that, I took a bunch of fucking videos with my phone and whatever, and just, played them a few times since and watched, and I'm just like, holy fuck, those guys are truly fucking gifted. I mean, it's one thing to practice a lot and put time in, but I think it's another thing to just have a natural genetic aptitude for chops like that, and they both do,
Yeah, well, you know what I was wondering, Mike, is, you, as you were saying, you didn't really pay attention to Chinese Democracy and those albums, so you're kind of, I would say, like a Guns N' Roses traditionalist. Like, you got into them during the Appetite era and Use Your Illusions and all that. So what did you think of the new lineup? The idea of how Melissa Reese was up there and all these new players. Like, did that bother you or take anything away from you?
No Izzy?
That it wasn't Izzy, it wasn't Steven,
Yeah.
it wasn't Matt Sorum?
No, it really didn't. And, I would say because I was, growing up, it's kind of like Def Leppard. Like, the lead singer and the lead guitarist. Def Leppard's
Sure.
like not even as good of an example. But I mean, to me, Guns N' Roses is Slash and Axl. Not to take anything away from everybody else, but I mean, at least, from my perspective, I wouldn't take anything away from those guys. I mean, my hat's off to the rest of them. But as a junior high and high school kid listening to the band, it's like I'm listening to Slash and Axl, and the other guys are like backup dancers at a Janet Jackson.
Well, I've kind of painted a picture of your type of fan before, where it's the faces of the band. Yeah, you know, the nerds like Ian and I, we know everybody, past, present, side projects, all that crap. So what was your introduction to the band, to Slash? You mentioned you played guitar. Was he an influence? So to get to the point that you just had, what was the road leading up to that, the Guns N' Roses road?
Yeah, I mean, so for me, I grew up in a smaller suburban town in northern Iowa, and me and my friends were into metal. So I mean, we started off again with some of the '80s bands, Def Leppard and Twisted Sister and Ratt, and there's Poison and Whitesnake and Bon Jovi and shit like that. But as I got a little bit older, I started to get a little more into the harder stuff, and was digging on Metallica and Megadeth and Iron Maiden and Pantera.
Yeah, I was going to say, can't forget Pantera for you. You're the biggest Pantera fan I know.
Yeah, no, I mean they were kind of the pinnacle of rip off your head and shit down your throat, brutal metal music, and that's what kind of ruined me in terms of everything else. Just liking that really in your face, hard, heavy stuff, but it kind of built up with bands like Guns N' Roses and similar ones. So, for me, it was just really enjoying that music, and again being a kid that at that time, it wasn't like I was some talented and gifted guitar player and was in bands and music and shit like that growing up. I dug the music. I like to work out to it, and and again, I mean, most of my experiences with the band, I mean, similar with Pantera. I mean, I know a little more about them just because I've got so heavy into them in high school in terms of who the other band members are. But it's kind of the same thing in that, you've got Phil Anselmo and Dimebag Darrell. I mean, they're what makes Pantera. I mean, again, not that Vinnie Paul's not a good drummer, not that Rex isn't a good bass player, but to me, for the most part, with the exception of guys like Cliff Burton from, early Metallica days, or really gifted drummers like, Dave Matthews Band drummer, I don't know his fucking name, but, guys like that. I mean, drums and bass, unfortunately, are just not as sexy of positions, for one main reason, and that there's just, I think that it's harder to put your signature on rhythm.
Sure.
It just really is. I mean, the same with a rhythm guitarist. I mean, more people know or knew who Kirk Hammett was versus Dave Mustaine in Metallica, because he was more of the lead as he came on after him. It's just I don't know. I mean, to me, I guess, as shitty as it may sound, it just it seems like it's harder for drummers and bassists to make an impact for your
absolutely.
average.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think it's harder to have a distinct sound. Like, there's very few that you could point to,
Like Neil Peart, I'm thinking.
Exactly.
That's
And I was going to
it.
say, for Primus, everybody knows Les Claypool.
Sure.
There's those examples like that.
Or Flea.
Yeah. The last thing I wanted to ask you about, though, Mike, is you were talking about that you like to work out to these bands. I think a lot of us agree with that, and could relate. Because heavy music is just something that gets you pumped. But for you, you're a guy who's been deployed. You're a guy who's seen combat. You've been in Iraq, as a Navy SEAL. So I'm wondering, was I know Pantera was Guns N' Roses ever in your headphones during any of those deployments?
Actually it was. For sure not to the same degree that, so I guess the best way I can break it down is, there were, like, if I was just in camp and fucking kicking back, I would listen to music, and I would listen to fucking Guns N' Roses or anybody, but, and I'm embarrassed to say even fucking Creed was.
I like Creed a lot, man.
Hey,
no shame.
I have human clay. I get it.
Yeah, but of course that was in the early 2000s too, so it was.
Somebody bought those records,
then.
So admit
Yeah,
it.
fucking hated it. To me too, I can't think of the guy's name. The lead guitarist.
Oh, Mark Tremonti, amazing. Mark Tremonti. Mark Tremonti, you're talking about?
Yeah, Tremonti. Christ, he's got his own guitar line, for Christ's sake, with PRS, I think. But yeah, he's a phenomenal guitarist.
Oh, hell yeah.
And their music, it's a little bit bubblegum, but it's still fucking good, I think. A lot of it is. It's still catchy enough for me to want to lay around and listen to it. But so Guns N' Roses was kind of in that similar aspect. In terms of when I was working out or, getting my shit on to go fucking kick doors in or whatever, it was always Pantera, Korn, just really fucking grungy, fucking, Deftones. It was shit that just made you want to get fucking violent. And to me, as good as Guns N' Roses is, it doesn't have that same joie de vivre, if you will.
I don't know. I feel like Out to Get Me, those songs.
Perfect Crime, Garden of Eden. They have like some songs, but you're not going to listen to November Rain and Estranged.
Actually, for me, man, Chinese Democracy is one of those songs that always gets me pumped.
Shackles
but I know
of
that's
Revenge.
not like your era of the band, but that song gets me pumped.
Yeah. I guess, there's a number of songs that they have that will energize you. But, to me, if you're setting that song next to anything off of Chutes and Ladders, or anything off of Vulgar Display of Power or Far Beyond Driven, like that, there's not a comparison. There just isn't. From my perspective.
I get it, man.
So, again, it's fucking great music. I love it and listen to it. Again, even overseas on a number of occasions. But when it was go time, it was always something that had a little more feed and rebar through a tree shredder sound to it.
I'm as big as your bicep, so I'm not going to argue with you. You're a very large man. We really appreciate you coming on. Ian has been talking about you for quite a while, so it's glad to, I guess, meet you, at least over the phone. I know you're calling from Texas right now, correct?
I'm actually on the road. I was at Sturgis all week.
Okay.
As a representative for Warrior Dog Foundation. And, the neat thing is the Buffalo Chip there, give them a big shout out. They've brought us the last couple of years. And, they have a pretty decent lineup.
Also, you know who just played Sturgis? My friends at Midnight Mob.
Nice.
Yeah,
no shit.
Who did they open for? It might have been Three Doors Down or Kid Rock, whoever.
Okay.
They're good. Midnight Mob is great.
Yeah, Kid Rock played on Sunday at the Buffalo Chip, and that was the day I got in, and so I actually missed it. Five Finger Death Punch played. They did fucking great. They played last year, too, and I watched them, and they put on a pretty good show. And Pop Evil played last night. They were pretty good, too.
Yeah. And so the last thing I was going to say, man, is, anybody who's not familiar with Mike, check out Mike's Twitter, of course, at M. Ritland, always really active on there. Warrior Dog Foundation is at Warrior Dogs, and Trikos International at Trikos Dog. The website is trikos.com. Dude, always an honor talking with you, man, and get back to barbecuing or whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah. Oh, shit, it's my pleasure, man. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Thanks, dude. And I always have to end it with Mike Ritland for president, since that's been like the big rally call of my friends over at SOFREP, where I do other stuff, of course.
Yeah, no, do it. I mean, at least get some bumper stickers made up. One last thing before I go, I wanted to justify to your listeners why in the fuck we would be talking about Creed on a GNR podcast. I need you guys to bear with me.
Okay.
So Mark Tremonti was the guitarist of Creed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but he also plays an alter bridge now, who the lead singer is Miles Kennedy, who sings on Slash's solo project. So 6 degrees of separation, basically Creed equals Guns N' Roses.
That does bring it full circle, absolutely.
Yeah.
Are you? I gotta ask then, are you a Miles Kennedy fan? Because I've said before, personally, not really my thing, man.
I mean, I do like Alter Bridge. I mean, to say, am I a Miles Kennedy fan? I mean, I don't know him, but in terms of his abilities, I think, I like it. I don't like when, like on Slash's solo project, I think there's too, like it's trying too hard to sound like Axl a little bit. I mean, I know some of the songs I've heard them cover, and he does a pretty good job. I think it's just one of those things like he should just fucking leave it alone, though, and not do that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's my take on it. I like him in Alter Bridge. There's a handful of songs in Alter Bridge I like a lot, but that's about the extent of it.
Yeah, fair enough, because he has that kind of whiny voice that Axl has. And so it's interesting that Slash needed an Axl type of lead singer because he missed him. Same thing maybe with Scott Weiland. He needed somebody crazy. Rest in peace, Scott.
Yeah.
And then Axl needed somebody with either a bucket on his head or DJ Ashbaugh who wore a hat. So they really missed each other all these years.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, to me, I don't know why, like, Slash could have had any swinging dick in the planet sing for him. Like, why you would almost, like, typecast or find a guy that has so many similarities to Axl is kind of beyond me, but
they love each other, and it's just they were meant to be. They were meant to be. So we appreciate it, and no judgment here for Creed, because I did see them in concert once, and Jerry Cantrell opened, and they rocked it, man.
I've seen them too. I love Creed, and as you guys on the podcast know, I have no shame about anything that I listen to. So there you go, man. Well, dude, thanks again for doing this, Mike.
Do you listen to Creed while wearing your Nickelback?
Now, Nickelback, that's a bit much for me. Nickelback, I can't get into. I think Creed did not deserve all the hate that they got. Nickelback, on the other hand, it's just so generic.
Their earlier stuff, I will say that. I saw them when they just got big, when they played a show at my college, and they were fine. They've gotten a little weird over the years, but I see your point. I would not pay a lot. I would not pay a lot of money to see a Nickelback reunion. I would just leave that up to Guns N' Roses.
Well, I damn sure will.
Thank you for your service, Mike.
No, my pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Mike.
All right, take care.
Dude, fun show. A lot of great discussion, I think, and it is interesting to see all these other bands reuniting, and I think the demand is out there. Like a guy I've wanted to get on the podcast, and hopefully we will soon, is Stevie Rochelle from Metal Sludge, who talks about all the stuff going on. And it's just interesting how for a while during the 2000s, basically the late 90s, there was no demand for these bands unless you were a Guns N' Roses. And now it's like they're seeing what Guns N' Roses is doing, and people want to see Skid Row reunite. They want to see Rat reunite. They want to see Dokken, who is reuniting for a few shows. And, like you said, there's like Guns N' Roses are like the pinnacle of that. So if they can do it, if Axl and Slash could get along, maybe Israel and the Palestinians could get along, honestly.
Same wavelength. I was about to use that as an analogy. Perfect. You know what? It's just showing that good music. And I can't put, obviously, Dokken and Guns N' Roses in the same category. But, I mean, these bands have a fan base. You know, you look at now, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because it sucks that VH1 Classic went to MTV Classic because VH1 Classic used to have...
I loved Metal Mania.
Yeah, Metal Mania, and then, you know, of course, that metal show and all that stuff, but now, you know, they're showing, like, Backstreet Boy reunion concerts, but I mean...
I like that stuff, too. Not gonna lie.
I do, too.
Did you see the documentary on the Backstreet Boys?
No, I didn't.
It's great. Watch it on Netflix.
At least I didn't go that far, but I'm just saying that regardless of genre, the demand for true reunions are there, or at least the faces we've touched on it, and I'm really, and I guess it proves me right in a way what Mike said about, to him, Guns N' Roses is Axl and Slash. Of course, to nerds like you and I, Axl, Duff, Izzy, Steven, we're very, very cool with what's going on right now. Additions with Melissa Reese, it's fine. But Mike represents a large of the population. That's why, and you know, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a homer for a classic rock radio station. You hear a lot of the same stuff because people like what they like, and most people aren't as nerdy or as critical as we are. It's just, it is what it is.
Well, are you going to kill me if I bring up Kiss one more time?
We should get started a Kiss podcast. Jeez.
Well, this pertains very well to what you're talking about. So I've read Peter Criss's book. I read Paul Stanley's book. And one of the funny things about Paul Stanley's book in regards to this is that after they did the big reunion tour with the face paint, the makeup and everything, they were going to go play Japan. And you know, they were saying to Peter Criss, hey, we'll pay you this much. We're going to tour Japan. And Peter Criss constantly wanted more. And he kept saying to Paul Stanley, Paul Stanley basically was like, all right, we'll have Eric Singer wear the face paint. Like, we'll have someone else go over there in the face paint. And Peter Criss kept saying the fans aren't going to, the fans won't accept it. And Paul Stanley's attitude is basically like, oh, they will. And they went over there, you know, with Eric Singer in the makeup and sold out fucking arenas in Japan. So it's just, there are certain, you know, there are the people who are going to bitch, but also even the people that are going to bitch, a lot of them are going to buy tickets. And so at the end of the day, if you're going to buy tickets, it doesn't really matter. Like, you could want, I'm drawing a blank here, the drummer from Black Sabbath who's not there right now.
Bill Ward.
Yeah, you could want Bill Ward up on that stage, but if you're a Black Sabbath fan, you're probably still going. So it doesn't mean money taken out of their wallets.
And we spoke about it at the beginning of the show, certain band franchises, certain band brands just work. It is. And I briefly mentioned before, as the Yankees have completely transitioned into a new phase, the youth movement, and it was so cool that they just recently had the 1996 ceremony, and I got to see it.
Wow. I can't believe it's that long.
I know. Well, I say this, I only remember the date, October 26, 1996, because that's when I was bar mitzvahed. Only reason I remember, Yankees won the World Series that night.
Wow.
But
you must have, as a Yankee fan, you must have been like, man, I want to watch this. But
and I did. And it was fantastic, but people, I'm always a Yankee fan. I mean, you could be a fan of certain players, or i.e. band members, but it's the jersey, it's the emblem, it's the logo. You're a fan of the uniform. Essentially, you're a fan of the face paint. You're a fan of the top hat and the bandana. It's just, it works for some, not for others. It didn't work for Ghostbusters. You know, there are certain other franchises, I guess they tried to remake certain things. Star Trek, it worked for.
Yeah.
You know?
So anyway, we'll be back. Probably been doing this usually every other week. You know, we don't have a set day that we put it out, but usually every other week.
We're our own bosses.
Yeah, we'll have something out because we're keeping this fun. But so check out all the social media. We're on Twitter at the AFD Show. It's usually Brando running the AFD Show Twitter and
Facebook. We're active. You know,
very active.
Send us stuff. Oh, and you know what? I want to play this before we leave.
Go for it.
We press this button over here. Be very professional about it, because I mentioned this. The reason I want to bring it up now because I mentioned this last time when John Miller, that my mom told me about this. What you're hearing right now is Full House. All right, so I'm going to set the scene. This is like early Full House. So this is.
I thought you said it was Blossom.
Whatever. I know
that's
it was
what you
Blossom,
said in the episode.
I know that, but I forgot. It was Full House, or my mom told me the wrong one. Whatever. Who gives a shit? It's Full House with the Guns N' Roses mentioned. So enjoy.
Here, we watched the music video awards and stuff our faces with junk food. This year, let's make it interesting.
Every time you make something interesting, we get
It's
in trouble.
coming, don't worry.
I'll bet you 5 marshmallows. At least one guy from Guns N' Roses falls off the stage. 4 cookies say they don't even find the stage.
Yeah, so I mean that's the fact that there was Guns N' Roses mentioned in Full House. It's just fucking great.
Yeah, just pop culture. Like I remember, I don't know why I remember this. But
Thanks,
you playing
Mom.
That. Yeah, it reminds me of Clarissa Explains It All. There was like a Nirvana mention, and I remember at the time being like, "That's so cool." Yeah. So
yeah.
And you know what? Actually, that does speak to how iconic they are, because I don't think on
Who, the Olsen twins?
no Guns N' Roses.
I was being an asshole.
Because like what's the I don't even watch TV, man, but what's Modern Family? Like I don't think you would hear an Imagine Dragons reference on Modern Family. And that's like, the biggest rock band today, I guess, up there.
I don't know. They seem to have died down, but I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't know
get
what's
it.
big, man. I don't work in music radio like you, so that's the thing. So my whole world is like Trump and Hillary and Navy SEALs and Army Rangers.
Yeah, we also don't really have like a new music station in New York, so I'm kind of out of the loop as well.
Every now and again, I'll put on Nash, actually, and I kind of like that pop country stuff like now and again. It's
No,
fun.
It's not for me. They all sound the same.
They do, but it's fun. It's all about like...
fuck my truck. Like, it's just like,
Well, it's
drank
all-
some whiskey off
Yeah, it's
my
all about,
grandma's
like,
tits. I know, it's all the same shit.
No, it's fun though. It's all about like driving big trucks, drinking beer, hunting. Like it's fun music, and I like fun music.
You know what? You want real country? Listen to Hank Williams
I
III.
agree. I
Hank
agree completely.
III is
I love
the
Hank
man.
III. Dude, I love Hank
Good.
III. And I love Johnny Cash, and
Yes.
I love
Cash,
Hank
of
Williams
course.
Sr. But I think it's fun music. Like we've debated this before. Like if you were to tell me like who's an amazing rock band or something, Guns N' Roses is up there for me, or Aerosmith, but do I enjoy listening to a little Warrant, or do I enjoy listening to I don't know, just do I like Poison? Yeah, are they a great band? No, they're fun, man.
I want to get into this, whether it's next podcast or a future podcast, that the hair metal scene, where you can somewhat compare it to country, today's country, where there are what people consider real country, and back then there were people that would consider real rock, the Guns N' Roses, the Metallicas, or versus, the Warrants, the Poisons, or you hear the Thomas Rhetts. Yeah, I know some of the names. Or do you listen to someone like the I don't want to say harder country, but you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So how did Guns N' Roses fit in? So
I'd also
before
like to
we
do
go too much down the rabbit
is
hole.
Guns N' Roses hair metal. That's another thing I've asked.
Yes. Before we'll leave that to ellipses to be continued. We'll leave it at that before we go too much down the rabbit hole, because we tend to do that. So yes,
Both
follow us.
Major ADD.
Hey, I'm on medication. You're not. So what's your problem? So yes, please follow us at the AFD Show, Facebook, Twitter. Also, again, we are now. Thank you to those of my coworkers who helped us out, getting us on the iHeartRadio app as well. Leave us a review on iTunes. And as Axl Rose said about Chinese democracy, I don't know if you'll see it. I don't know if soon is the word, but you'll see it regarding our next podcast. I fucked that ending up, but whatever. We'll keep it.
You've been listening to the distorted minds of Brando and Scotto, dissecting all things Guns N' Roses on Appetite for Distortion. Follow the guys on Twitter at The AFD Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/The AFD Show.
Thanks to the lame ass security, I'm going home.